Hey there, Russ here. Welcome back to the shop. Well, if you liked my video yesterday, or whenever you saw it, about these knobs that I made, really cool, great little knobs, very handy to have, easy to make, then you're going to really like the one today because I have also in the past made dowels, using dowels, making little wood knobs. This is a good so I thought I'd make one yesterday. I made one this morning so I could show this to you, and that's this. This is just some dowels that I made a long time ago that I ended up not using on a box that I was making, and so they've just been sitting around here for probably 10 years. So I took and decided these would be perfect to turn into little dowels. So what I did to make this, instead of using the slide-in T-nut, I'm using a cross dowel. It's a 1/4 20 hole, and it's 5/8 of an inch long and 3/8 of an inch in diameter. And it works perfect for doing this. You just have to drill 2 holes in your piece. So you take your dowel. Well, first off, this is an 1/8" dowel. Now, if you really are in a real tight area, you could get as small as a 3/4 inch dowel with these dowels here, with these cross dowels, because it's still less. It's only 5/8 and your 3/4 here. So you can use this in here too if you wanted to, and just make sure you epoxied it in to help give the wood some strength. And you could probably just get down in there. You're not going to super tight like you would with a 3-pound wrench, with a 3-foot long wrench. So, but just make your handle long enough for whatever you need. And these things get in some pretty tight places. I made some that I made out of 3/4 square instead of round. And when I made those, I started off with just threading a hole in the end and then epoxying a bolt down in there. But that didn't hold. Eventually, that actually still broke loose. So a cross dowel will give you a lot more effective use to be able to have something that will not fail on you. That is a much better way of doing it, I think. But it's easy to do. So let me show you. To do this one, what I did was I drilled 2 holes. I drilled one in the center here, which is big enough for the 1/4 inch bolt to fit in loosely. Less than 5/16, bigger than 1/4 inch. And that way you'll be able to line it up easy and be able to use it, and it isn't going to rub the wood, because the one thing you don't want is these things to touch the wood. That way they'll spin easily. The other hole, mine is actually measured to 1/64 larger than the 3/8. And I actually drilled the hole 2/64, or 32nd larger than 3/8 when I drilled it, so that it drops in there nice and easy. And then I can get it back out. You just want it to fit loosely, because the only thing you're going to need to do eventually is put a little glue on there, epoxy or CA glue, whatever, so as to lock it in place and so it won't fall out eventually, because all the stress on this is going to be pulling this way, so the glue isn't going to hold it. And if the glue wasn't in, it doesn't take much glue, because you're not trying to hold this thing from going out this way. So it isn't going to take much. So what you do is you put the bolt in here after you drill both of these, and when I drill this to the depth so that it's deeper, when I drop it in, you want this thing to line up to there or go a little deeper. I like to get it as close to lining up as I can, but it's not critical, because eventually you'll center this in there, and you're going the way you set it in place is you just put it in. Whoops, let's do this. After you get the holes drilled over on the drill press, and then just take yourself a long bolt with a nut on there, and then screw this into that cross dowel, like so. And when you're in there, you know you're past the dowel, so it's all the way through it. Then spin your nut down, and you can actually take and just barely snug that nut down so as to make it tight, so that it's pulling this against the wood here. So now when you set the CA glue in here, or epoxy, whatever you use, it'll be in this position here. And then once that dries and you release this, that's the position it'll hold. But that's the position it'll always be pulling on anyway. So the glue will help hold it in place, but it won't cause it to actually break in. The glue won't break away so that it'll get loose again. So if it does, you can just epoxy it back down. Now, when I epoxied this one, when I made this one, I made a mistake. I actually used CA glue. And I put a little bit of CA in there. It actually went in and got all over inside where the threads were. It was a mess. Now, I did finally get it cleaned up, but I had to tap it and re-drill the holes slightly bigger to get rid of all that residue of the CA glue. It was kind of a pain. But now it works real well, and I can use this one either as a nut, like here, and it just spins right on and off real nicely. And the threads go up in there quite a ways. You can go up about right there on the threads. You want to make sure you make that hole plenty deep to give it plenty of option to possibly go up in there. Again, you're just going on the threads itself. You don't want to be able to touch any wood anywhere. That way it will turn nice and free. But this is really great for using as a dowel locking instead of using a knob like this if you're in the tight quarters. And like I said, you can even go down to as low as this size right here, as small as 3/4, and still use these cross dowels in them. So if you have any questions about how to make this, I think I explained it, and it does work real well. If you want to make this thing into a, looks like a corkscrew. If you go into a, let me take this off. If you want to make this into something like a bolt instead of a nut, then you can just take it. I'll just make some of these of them. They'll be in the drawer. And if I have to turn it into a bolt, I would just take a threaded bolt or thready rod and put it on there. Put some epoxy on it so that when I put that down in there, make sure I screw it in at least past all the threads, and then fill this up as best I can with epoxy so that it'll hold that bolt. And then this one I would just take and cut off the head, and now I have a bolt dowel instead of a nut. So you can easily convert this from one to the other if you need to. And when you get ready to use it, you can decide which way you want. But these are great, easy to make, except for the scrolling. You got to have a legacy to do that. So, or a lot of patience and hand carving, you could do it. So anyway, if you have any questions about it, any comments, any ideas, suggestions, maybe some other wood knobs that we hadn't thought about yet that maybe might be useful, just leave them in the comments. I do read everything. If you like this video or you learned something here, hit that like button. Lets me know that I'm doing the right thing. So, most importantly though, please come back again because I'm nowhere near done. Thanks, and we'll see you guys again very soon.